When looking at this playground, what do you see? Do you see emptiness? Is this playground somewhat unsettling to you, perhaps? Maybe you feel as if you're in that playground right now. A cold afternoon in the park, as you feel wind blowing lightly on your face. What about this area? Does this area seem strangely familiar to you? If you answered yes, you are correct. These images that are being shown to you right now can be classified as liminal spaces. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what liminal spaces are, let me explain. Liminality in anthropology comes from the Latin word limen, meaning threshold, and is the state of transition between one stage and the next, especially between major stages in one's life or during a rite of passage, transitional being the key word in this definition of liminality. To put it in short, liminal spaces are pretty much transitional thresholds. They are temporary settings created to fulfill a purpose for people who visit them. Say a person were to spend the night at a hotel and were to leave the next morning, making it a temporary setting. An example of liminal space is a hallway. Everyone has most likely walked down a hallway before. A long, empty, lonely hallway that feels like it's never ending. This is a prime example of a liminal space. The purpose of a hallway is to get to one point of the building to another. They are temporary places that fulfill a person's need, that being to get to different places in a building. With this, we can look back at the hotel example that I mentioned earlier. When you look at these images of hotel hallways, they might spark a memory that you had a long time ago. Maybe there was a memory of you walking down the hotel hallways as you just got out of the hotel pool. You might be running to your room through the air-conditioned corridors as your shorts are dripping water onto the carpet. Here's another photo that is a liminal space, and when looking at this image, you may get a feeling of emptiness, sorrow, and maybe a hint of nostalgia. There might have been a time where you were walking around the mall after closing hours, trying to find the doors to exit as the muffled pop music echoes across the mall. These liminal spaces are not meant to be occupied for very long, and looking at these images can produce uneasiness as we are there longer than necessary. We are stuck in the threshold, making these images eerie, unsettling, and somewhat nostalgic and familiar. As of recently, liminal spaces have been gaining in popularity on the internet, mostly through analog horror, and of course, the Backrooms series of videos created by KanePixels, which their videos have caused a lot of traction and viewers interested to see the story of the Backrooms being told through this series of videos. I'll talk more about the Backrooms later on in this video for more context. With the acknowledgement of liminal spaces, it makes both reality and the media a lot more unsettling. You could come upon these images such as this empty, clean, downstairs basement and instantly get a creepy nostalgic feeling from it, but will also make you think of a time where you might have been in that location. Maybe you were moving into a new house, or maybe even packing up everything you own to move to a different place. These images can easily bring you back to a time that you might have not remembered, but have forgotten until now. And this is what makes these images very creepy and unsettling. Liminal spaces is used in different types of media, such as video games, internet creepypastas, and film. A lot of video games, especially in horror games, use these empty locations for the player to explore in order to make the game and the atmosphere more unsettling and eerie. Some examples are Minecraft, Silent Hill, and even Baldi's Basics to an extent can all feature the use of liminal space. When it comes to Minecraft, anyone can build anything they want. And with players' creativity, some have remade different photos that include liminal spaces inside the world of Minecraft. In the Silent Hill games, the atmosphere in the game gives off the feeling of loneliness and dread. You explore an abandoned town in the dark, all while an eerie fog covers almost everything that you see in sight. All the locations in the game all share the same traits: loneliness, emptiness, and even darkness. Liminal spaces is also used in creepypastas, and the most noticeable creepypasta that relates to liminal space is of course the Backrooms. This is the Backrooms. It is an image of an empty room that looks like it would have been used as an office space. The Backrooms is a creepypasta inspired by a comment on a picture of an unsettling room on 4chan's X-board. The comment inspired and expanded creepypasta and YouTube videos regarding the creepypasta itself. Back in May of 2019, an anonymous 4chan user started a thread on the site's paranormal board to allow people to post photos that felt off and eerie. One user posted the Backrooms photo that everyone knows about on the thread, and one user wrote a narrative for the photo, writing, "If you're not careful and you clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you will end up in the Backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you." Earlier I mentioned the series of videos by KanePixels on YouTube called The Backrooms Found Footage, which takes inspiration from the original Backrooms creepypasta, with the first video showing a filmmaker no-clipping through reality and finding himself in the Backrooms universe, where a tall, lanky creature is chasing him around the Backrooms universe. He finds numerous writings on the wall explaining the area and the entity in detail. But what makes it more eerie and intense is that pretty much there's no escape in this universe. Multiple levels to go through, yet you can't go back to your own reality. You stay there forever. He goes through different areas, finds himself in different locations and liminal space levels of the Backrooms, only to find himself back to where he started once exploring through each level 0. He finds a small gap to hide from the entity and discovers a deep hole in the ground, but once he was about to jump down, the entity finds him, snatches him up, and the camera no-clips back to the real world, seen falling from the sky. The other videos created by KanePixel after this one goes into more detail about the history of the Backrooms and shows that a group of scientists are doing studies and experiments on the Backrooms as more and more individuals go missing as time goes by. It is a really unique and interesting concept, story, and series of videos, and if you haven't watched them yet, I strongly recommend giving it a watch. The videos are dark, eerie, and very atmospheric, which makes the whole concept of the Backrooms even more terrifying. Link to the channel in the description below if you want to check it out. One of my favorite horror films of all time is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. If you don't know already, the film is pretty much about an aspiring writer, Jack Torrance, and his family moving into a remote and isolated hotel called the Overlook Hotel. Throughout the film, the main characters pretty much live in isolation. There are many shots throughout the film that feel dark, empty, and adds anxiety in the scenes. These shots are meant to make the viewer feel nervous and scared. For example, there are many shots in the film showing the hallways of the hotel. This shot, for example, shows the emptiness of the hallways, and only Danny Torrance sitting there playing with his toys in complete silence. And even this shot where he's riding his toy bike down the corridors, only for him to encounter the twins. These shots all fit in with liminal space, because these shots are transitional and or transformative spaces, making the viewer feel eerie, nervous, and scared. Not to mention that these shots also build suspense, making the viewer worried for what is to come. There are a lot more shots in the film that are liminal spaces, since the Torrance family are in isolation inside of this hotel, making a lot of the scenes more eerie, intense, dark, empty, and unsettling. To recap, liminal spaces are transitional thresholds. They are temporary settings created to fulfill a purpose for people who visit them. Liminal spaces can be used in different ways. They can be used to make the viewer feel empty and eerie. You have those feelings when looking at these images because they are empty and there is no one there, not even you. The emptiness of a pool, the empty dark corridors of a building, and even the eerie lonely Overlook Hotel in The Shining. The complete emptiness of these places bring about that eerie and unsettling and nostalgic feeling that something isn't right in the photo. Some of the images are locked into place. We remember these places, and now looking at these photos, they are nothing but empty shells. A lot of these liminal spaces can be the memories of the past that we will never likely return to, and even if you do return, it won't feel the same as when you look and see these strange empty places in these pictures. The memories remembered from looking at photos that are liminal spaces shows us that not only do these spaces affect the atmosphere and the empty feeling of the photo, it also affects the mind and when these such spaces and photos are mixed with our past memories, they become diluted and corrupted.